Riot Games, we're coming full circle, sticking with Riot Games. They've announced that they're going to be releasing the League of Legends Pro View. So what this is, it's a new way to watch professional League of Legends matches with features such as a multi-view, which I think that this is really the main feature, and this is the most exciting thing, at least for me. You can have multiple screens up at once in real time, so you can have one that's viewing the overall game like you would normally, and some that are just focused on specific players that you just want to watch their movement across the entire game. I think it's really, really cool. It's also going to have an advanced timeline that marks all kills and objectives so that you can click back to at any point and rewatch those moments. You can watch simultaneously with your friends as well, and this is going to be available for live games as well as recordings of games that happened in the past, so you can kind of use this really whenever the fuck you want. The cost is going to be $15 for the summer split, and it's going to last until Worlds, upon which you would have to pay again. And they had mentioned that there might be some new features at that point as well, but obviously we don't know what those are. They've also stated another really cool thing: the revenue from these purchases will be going directly to regional leagues and teams to continue growing the esports scene. I think personally, like I said, I think it's great. It's something that I would get. It's something that I may actually get. I haven't been watching that much League, but I may pay for this. I think that one thing that's been holding back esports is how the viewers get to view the game. And I think that this is a step in the right direction. I think that companies will further extrapolate this idea out in the future as esports becomes like more mainstream and grows out and evolves a little bit.
Yeah, no, I
Definitely.
think it's a great idea because I feel like, especially like League, there's just so many things going on for you know what I mean, to have one point of view that you're not really getting like the full feel of the game, especially like early in the laning phase. You know, if you have like you can see like everybody in lane at once instead of just like focusing on one thing, I think that'd be cool. And like $15, it's not too bad. And if it's gonna actually like if that all that money is actually gonna go to support, the esports scene and like help out the teams, like I'll pay $15. Like I'll support that.
So I know they still do something similar to that. Like they'll have a secondary cast of the game focused on one player, like the matchup in particular, if it's a really big matchup. But I know they didn't do it for all games. Like I feel like one of the big ones was like Caps, like the European mid laner. He's like G2 and Fnatic and stuff that people would definitely spend a lot of time watching that. So I definitely think this is going to be gigantic, especially for the biggest impact I see this having is for maybe even teams that aren't as competitive per se, like winning like split championships and going to worlds and things like that. But it kind of puts a big emphasis on going out and grabbing a star player to have on your roster in order
Mm,
to generate interest, people to watch them play in lane. We were talking about it earlier. People love to watch and emulate the pros. If I could sit and like what they have, Flame, the Korean top laner in League of Legends, come to the US and play. I was like a top lane player, and he wasn't on any good teams, but I wanted to watch him play while he was here. Like, maybe I consider paying $15 to watch all his matchups all year to see what he's doing, how he's playing.
yeah, it's an amazing point. That's something I didn't think of. People would definitely do that. Yeah, you got to get that star power. I completely
Mhm.
agree.
It might, in turn, it might kind of mess with the whole league in general. I know at least in the NALCS, the it seems like teams are kind of trending towards that, like bringing in some star power from some of the other leagues and things like that to have on their team. Granted, they haven't been necessarily very competitive when they've done so, but I think it's just more incentive to do that. And I think everyone's going to be trying to obviously pull in a big name if it's especially if it's going to generate more revenue for the team in general. You might see players moving to smaller teams where they could be the focus to get a bigger contract. They get to see some of this money because people are paying to see them specifically
Mm,
when their games are being shown.
yep.
They don't have to compete with another top tier player on their own team.
My mind, upon reading about this, immediately went to how this could be utilized in a competitive shooter or a battle
Mm,
royale or something, where you could watch a Halo game and watch the whole team move all at once. And they show that sometimes, and they're really good with like going back and forth and showing you like the most exciting perspective or who's doing what. But if you could really watch like the entire team of 4 or 5, I think it might be 4 that normally plays, but anyway, and you could just watch them and their strategy, whether like you're training with your own team or whether you just want to improve in competitive, but just from a viewership standpoint of not having to have them cut from one perspective to another constantly, just it may be hard. Like the casting might be a little off, I guess, because it's only going to be on the one screen that you're watching, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it opens up a world of, I don't even know what the right word for it is, but just this new tech, I think could be like a huge boom for esports. And you could see competitive shooters becoming more popular, or a new genre of a game becoming more popular in esports, because this could make viewership possible.
Right. I think MOBAs in general, especially League of Legends, for me is definitely the most digestible form of viewership in esports. Comparatively, trying to watch things like when PUBG and Overwatch, CS:GO, to an extent, it's a little bit easier to understand. There's just way too much going on, and it just translates so horribly on the screen.
Yep.
If they can figure out better ways to show it, even if it is just always like point of views, and you really like this player and you always want to see his point of view, or maybe you don't even know the player, he's just you're following the guy playing like Genji and Overwatch or something, like because you love Genji, you just like watch, you just want to keep watching that.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if it's something like a huge battle royale, you can watch like the top 4 or 5 players and it'll automatically shuffle them through or something so that you get different perspectives.
Yeah,
Just something as simple as that.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is just like, as a viewer, you can really watch exactly what you want to watch. You know what I mean? You can really hone in on what you want to see. Like if you're a top laner and you want to watch a top laner play the whole game, you can. Or if you want to, you know what I mean? Or you want to watch the
Hmm.
ADC's perspective, you get to pick. You know what I mean? You can focus in on exactly what you want to see instead of like having to jump around and go to different things. Which I think people definitely want. You know what I mean? Want to see especially like MOBA related, like if you play a position, you want to see how a pro player plays from start to finish in a professional match from their point of view without, cutting into, just like jumping around to all the different people and like you actually
Of
get to see
course.
like every second of them play. And I think people really I think like I would like that. Like if I'm a top laner, I would want to watch the top laner play the whole game from his perspective. Like I think that'd be cool to watch and that'd be
It'd be
helpful
really,
as a player
really
to
cool.
learn.
I
And
mean,
like
you
you
miss
said,
so
oh,
much.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, in a cast, you really do miss so much. I mean, it just cuts to the action. Like you never see the jungler like clearing the jungle unless he's like being contested, or unless he's ganking somebody. Like they're never on the screen. You hardly ever see
Yeah, right.
more than like the biggest matchup. Like if there's a lot of contention, like in the mid lane, like that's where it's going to focus. You have no idea what's going on bot or top unless there's a kill. Just
I think that the one thing this might do too is kind of bump up the competition and make players play a little bit better throughout the game because they know that they can be watched literally for every movement that they're making.
mm,
Whether that's good or bad, but I could see that having a positive impact on the competitive aspect of the league.
that's interesting. You could see,
You don't want to be like farting
players.
around and
Yeah,
missing
maybe they go for
CS
flashier plays in order to
or
like
that
generate more interest in themselves,
or
that
that.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Playing, I could see a guy like Hooney doing really well with this, like playing really crazy stuff, being aggressive. Players like that probably going to do really well with a system like this, and I'm sure teams will probably go out and try and get these people.